my duff, playing Candy Crush. Happy tells me hibernation's over.
Patch was tipped off by an anonymous call.
Not much of a dropper.
Well, she's really most sincerely dead. They set the roller. You okay, Agnes?
And who is that? Let me know when the...
You use that line. She dead? Anymore? Everything's digital now. I guess I could run the book title. Huh.
Everything destroyed.
Be back, Chief. And no, I do not accept.
But listen, Agnes.
You got a spot on your...
Agnes.
You're about to tell me something. That's no surprise. We just...
Here, Agnes. More brain power.
It's been a long time. What are you doing here?
The first episode of Agatha All Along continues where the WandaVision season finale left off. As a detective at the Westview police station, Agnes is imprisoned in Westview. All of this, though, is unreal. Everything is a part of Wanda's enchantment. Agatha is unaware of her true identity, but she quickly learns it with other people's assistance, and she resolves to make a return. Detective Agnes O'Connor, Agatha arrives at a crime scene in the woods where a woman's death has been discovered at the beginning of the first episode. After punching a suspect, she was placed on temporary probation, but her supervisor has summoned her back because she thinks she's the only competent person who can solve the case. Herb, a co-worker, hands Agnes a library slip that was discovered on the deceased woman's corpse as they go over to see the body. He informs Agnes that the woman's cause of death was blunt force trauma. Before taking a closer look at the dead, Agnes notices a brooch on the ground and pockets it while examining the murder scene. Before she rushes off, she continues to talk with Herb about the crime scene. The scene then switches to the title sequence, which is arranged like the setup for the television crime drama, Agnes of Westview. In this made-up program, Wanda imprisoned Agatha. Agatha is posing as a detective because of this. The episode opens with Agnes in the Westview library handing over the library slip to Ms. D. Jones, nicknamed Dottie, the librarian. Dottie informs Agnes that the book was stolen 3 years ago, but that further copies are available in the natural sciences area of the library, after verifying the book title on the slip. Agnes heads over to the natural sciences department in the hopes of finding answers from the book to aid her with the case, only to discover it has been set on fire. A mystery man enters as she is examining the burned books and informs her that all of the volumes were burned because of a fire. Then he turns to go. Agnes comes to the police station after this unsettling meeting and learns that she will be assisting someone with the murder investigation. Agnes despises federal agent Rio Vidal, who is the individual in question. Agnes heads over to the natural sciences department in the hopes of finding answers from the book to aid her with the case, only to discover it has been set on fire. A mystery man enters as she is examining the burned books and informs her that all of the volumes were burned because of a fire. Then he turns to go. Agnes comes to the police station after this unsettling meeting and learns that she will be assisting someone with the murder investigation. Agnes despises federal agent Rio Vidal, who is the individual in question. She discovers that the acronym DARKHOLD is formed from the book's title. Her employer knocks on her door and instructs her to go home before she has a chance to investigate more. Agnes returns home and receives a knock on her door shortly after. Rio is waiting there with a pizza box as she answers the door. After she lets her in, they discuss the case, but Rio starts probing her with odd questions like, "Are you hiding evidence?" and "Do you remember why you hate me?" They can't talk about this subject for too long though, since there's a noise coming from above. Agnes goes upstairs to discover that someone has broken into her house. The burglar escapes as she pursues them outdoors. When the burglar is struck by a car, the pursuit comes to a stop. Agatha's neighbor is the one inside the car, and the intruder is a teenage male. The teenager is subsequently taken into custody and questioned by Agnes.
Stop! okay? Live? Good. Name and he's not in the system.
Good old-fashioned chat with Edward Scissorhands. Compelled you to break into the home of a dead. Because you're crap at it.
The thing.
Where were you at? New question. Total loser? What are you? I just pictured.
Why do you keep looking at that painting?
You're spending the night in the tank.
There's a body. Scarlet.
Wrong question.
Do you?
I'm hot.
There are 2 Jane Does in this case.
When Agnes asks the teenage guy in the questioning chamber back at the police station what he was wanting during the invasion of her home, he responds, the road. Although Agnes is unsure of his meaning, she begins questioning him about his whereabouts at the time of the murder since she believes he is a suspect. She doesn't trust the teenage lad when he claims he has no idea what Agnes is talking about. She asks the teenager what he did to the slain woman after slamming several pictures from the crime scene onto the table. The teenage lad looks down at the pictures, which now show pictures of flowers rather than a dead body. He says this to Agnes, and when she looks at the pictures again, she acknowledges that he is correct. Then Agnes turns to face the room's original two-way mirror and discovers it has been transformed into a painting. She's a total freak out now. She turns to face the teenager again and sees that he is repeating an incantation. She chooses to put him in jail for the evening since she is tired of his antics. Agnes is beginning to have doubts about what had transpired, so she goes to the morgue to see the dead woman's body. The body is hidden from her view at first, but as she opens her eyes and closes them again, she sees it on a table. She sees the same library slip from before hanging on the deceased's toe as she gets closer to the body. However, it currently bears the name, W. Maximoff. Agnes is shocked to learn that Rio has entered the room and that Wanda Maximoff, also known as the Scarlet Witch, has imprisoned her in Westview and taken all of the Darkhold copies with her. At that point, Agnes starts to lose her sitcom Agnes identity, thereby ending Wanda's influence over her. She glances back to the library slip and notices that her true name, Agatha Harkness, now appears just above Wanda's. This informs the audience that Agatha was in possession of the Darkhold book prior to Wanda taking it from her. But fans of WandaVision would already be aware of this. Returning to Agatha's home, we see Agatha in her undies. Agatha is upset that she has been manipulated even if she now knows who she really is. She crosses the block to find out how long her neighbor has been in Westview. 3 years, the neighbor informs her. After that, Agatha returns to her home and attempts to utilize magic but finds herself unable. She hears a thudding sound coming from a closet as she surveys her house. She discovers the teenage kid from before when she unlocks the closet, confirming that he is genuine and not just a figment of her imprisoned mind. He had been abducted by her and hidden in her closet. Rio then bursts in the front door unexpectedly. She's no longer dressed as a government agent, though. That was only a front. The Green Witch is here, and her goal is to get even. The conflict between Agatha and the Green Witch ends with the Green Witch winning. However, just as she is ready to stab Agatha uses her lack of abilities to persuade her to postpone their duel. Agatha's proposition is accepted by the Green Witch, but before she leaves, she informs Agatha that other witches hate her and share her desire for her to perish. The witches in question are the Salem Seven, and the Green Witch informs us that they will be arriving at Agatha's house at dusk. Agatha glances at the teenage lad in her closet as soon as the Green Witch leaves through the front door. She is now left to attempt to decide how to handle him. The credits then roll for the episode.
What were you looking for in my
Way out.
About 3 years.
wants to see you dead. I expect.
Not.
She's unstoppable.
I want you to take me there. The road will give you the thing you want the most.
But it will kill you.
Or showed up on your Salem days. I mean, promises that what's missing.
Nope. Too risky.
You.
My name is.
Say again.
Really? Yes.
Not a car.
About covens. We do need a coven to access.
I'm over. Am I even going in the right direction?
Be cool, man.
In the second episode of Agatha All Along, Teen goes with Agatha on her search for her coven and introduces a number of Marvel witches making their MCU premieres. After the title card reads, "Circle sewn with fate, unlock thy hidden gate," Agatha, Kathryn Hahn is seen hastily getting ready to leave before the Salem 7 show up. Teen, still restrained and with a gag order, hears her say, "Random boy, the house is yours. Make careful to say hi to those seeking retribution." After succeeding in taking off the tape covering his lips, he begs Agatha to lead him to the Witch's Road, a mystical route that is only accessible to sorcerers. He responds, "That's just what real witches say to keep the amateurs out," when she informs him it doesn't exist. "If you follow the path to the finish, it will reward you with what you most desire." "I am able to." "Yes, I will." Teen admits, "I know an egregious amount about you," in response to her questioning how he knows so much about it. "Since reading about your Salem days, which are one of my favorite periods, I've become completely engrossed." In the first episode of Agatha All Along, he saved her from the spell for the same reason. Agatha is still unconvinced, though. "Why do you need the road if you have the means to break the Scarlet Witch's spell?" she asks. Despite having studied magic extensively, he says that he still longs for abilities, adding, "The road promises that what's missing awaits you at the end. What I lack is power. It appears that you are also missing it." According to Agatha, it's too hazardous. She is about to depart, but as she does, she stops dead in her tracks and opens her misplaced necklace to discover a strand of hair within. She asks, "Who are you?" But when he answers, an enigmatic shield covering his mouth obscures his name. Fans are aware that the most widely accepted hypothesis holds that Locke's character is Billy Kaplan, the Scarlet Witch's reincarnated son. However, Episode 2 has not yet revealed who he is. When he mentions his name again, a squiggle appears across his mouth as Agatha begs him to do so. This interesting little puzzle is sufficient to persuade Agatha to take the teenager on a road trip with her. To the road, they'll require a coven, which is defined in the Marvel Cinematic Universe as a gathering of witches, drawn together by mysterious forces of fate, in order to access it. As they leave Westview, Agatha explains, in her typical sardonic manner, the Covenstead rule, which states that there will be enough witches within a 3-mile radius to join a coven. "A small amount of skill is all we need," she claims. Magical sparks emerge between even the most depressed witches when they are in close proximity to each other. Their first destination, Agatha wants to check out a psychic shop in hopes of finding some talent. They encounter Lelia Calderu, Patti LuPone as soon as they arrive. Knowing Agatha's reputation, Lelia is unwilling to become involved. "I didn't look at your zodiac," she says. "I read your reputation. People believe that we eat babies, poison apples, and kidnap children because of witches like you." Agatha, who always has a joke for everything, adds, "Babies are delicious." Lelia is at least curious when Agatha brings up the road, despite the fact that her presentation isn't going well. Lelia is apprehensive despite this since she believes Agatha will lead her across the road to take her abilities. However, Agatha clarifies that she can only accomplish this by using her power to blast the other person. Agatha brings up the eviction notice on Lelia's door during her final remarks.
Saw them lift something.
He didn't touch anything. Giant intervention is this. You're out of a...
40 million cob.
What if you could
I didn't even. We got about an hour until Sunday.
Where are you from? Just put it a little more. Okay, whatever.
Expiration date.
We're gonna work.
You really need one of those.
Of course we do.
Cold feet already, Jen?
It wasn't a name. It was a heart.
Oh!
Well, you look fabulous, Aaron. I know you get confused sometimes. It's just me and my green thumb. Mr. Davis passed away.
Are you in or you out? You don't drive. Drafty.
Okay, but you'll let me know.
Sing the ballad.
Her life is not going anywhere right now. She offers, join me and reclaim your former glory as a clairvoyant. As Lelia pushes them away, her abilities come into play and she creates a list of the 4 names that will eventually form the coven. She calls upon the tarot card, 3 of Pentacles, which perfectly symbolizes cooperation and teamwork after the spellbinding enchantment. She suggests that Agatha go immediately and leaves her alone while she gives her the list. There is a small issue, though. Lelia's name is already there. Teen gives Lelia Agatha's address and instructs her to arrive by 5 p.m. Agatha notices a crow in the parking lot on her way out, and she becomes upset over it for an unexplained reason. The next sorcerer on the list is Jennifer Kale, Sasheer Zamata, with whom Agatha has a falling out. It appears that she feels the same way when she walks inside Jen's Goop-style health boutique. Agatha gets right to the point. I'm gathering a coven. I require a potions man. We will stroll down the road. Like Lelia, she isn't persuaded. Similar to Lelia, Agatha too has a plan in place to persuade her to join the coven. It seems that Jen has been without magic for the last 100 years due to a binding spell that has imprisoned her. Jen admits, after some pushing, that she is yearning to regain her powers. Despite the road's reputation for being lethal, she remains somewhat skeptical. Teens are available to remind Jen, meanwhile, that she's drowning in class action lawsuits at the moment because one of her products caused hundreds of customers to suffer minor burns. All they need to give them the last push is a small reminder that her alternatives are jail or joining them. After giving Jen the time, address, and much to ponder, they move on to their last witch. In reality, the third person they see is a blood witch, also known as a witch's kid. In this instance, it's Alice Wu Gulliver, Alian, a different Marvel Comics sorceress and the daughter of rock star Lorna Wu. As they search for her in the mall, Agatha becomes agitated at yet another animal, a rat, this time. They enter a store that looks like Hot Topic, and Agatha informs Teen that there is a story that Alice's mother vanished on the Witch's Road. Once more, the two cooperate to thwart their objective, putting on a fictitious heist that results in Alice's termination. Alice claims she doesn't even think the road is real and was only made up by her mom for a song called The Ballad, while they try to persuade her to join them as their protector. Agatha promises that if she follows them, she would at last be able to learn the truth about her mother's fate, but she appears uninterested as she leaves before Teen can give her the address. After Agatha determines they don't need Alice, they take a car home. She asks Teen along the way where he's from, but as soon as he answers in detail, his voice is suppressed once more. When Agatha returns home in all her witchy splendor, she boldly walks outside only to run into a wolf. After she leaves, the coven members show there, including Alice, who was able to locate the home with ease because of her previous experience as a police officer. Agatha attempts to start moving right away, but they are certain that they require a green witch. Agatha asks, says who? To which Jen responds, The Ballad. Awaken thy heavenly and worldly strength. Arguably, the most crucial skill set for attempting the road is earth magic. There was a fourth entry on the list, Lelia reveals, but it had a black heart, or allusion to Rio Vidal, instead of a name. She's not taking any chances after how things ended with Rio, so she invites poor old Sharon Davis, Debra Jo Rupp instead. They are taken to the basement by Agatha, where they will invoke the road. But while they're belting out songs, Teen spots something unsettling. 7 cloaked people are making their way toward the home. Agatha had been plagued by animals all day, which would make sense if the Salem 7 had indeed come. The 7 can transform into animals in Agatha All Along, and it appears that she may have recognized this as a hint that they were about to arrive. The witches in the basement argue while Teen fortifies himself against the Salem 7 as they get closer to the home. They seem to be blaming their lack of success with their song on each other's vocal abilities. Teen becomes alarmed as the eerie figures ultimately enter the house. It's easy to understand why, as they are surprisingly frightening for an MCU series and would not seem out of place in a horror film. The witches are fighting until they hear upstairs being hit, and that's when they see a bright door under them that wasn't there before. When they unlock it, a mysterious stairway is seen. Teen, with the Salem 7 after him closely, dashes downstairs before they can muster the bravery to enter. With no time to spare, he dashes through the portal, and Sharon and the others join him. After the door closes, the portal shuts and they all hesitantly make their way toward what seems to be the Witch's Road. They are getting ready to begin their trek along this lovely, moonlit route, and they are all taking off their shoes.
The Witch's Road.
I don't know where you heard
A coven to access the road.
It's to join us on the Witch's Road. What do you
Dave.
All we need to do is...
That's exactly how I pictured it.
You know what this is?
Agatha.
It's a light.
Okay, someone really needs to call this kid's parents.
Historical Society?
Well, whoever she is, she has no business on.
That's what we're up against.
What are they like?
One trial.
Magic. A what?
Folk.
Looks like Agatha
Could be something special, or he could.
If you want to.
You can't just walk off the road like that.
Do not.
I don't know how you expect.
That would be such a bummer.
We don't want to surprise anyone.
Is for the coven.
Middle-aged, second chance at love.
I look like one of my customers.
These don't open.
Check this out.
It's a riddle.
Excited too.
What does it mean?
Why?
Oh, sure we do. Something terrible.
Jen queries the group's decision to include Mrs. Hart as soon as they enter the Witch's Road, citing worries that she doesn't belong there and raising the possibility that they won't have a true green witch with them, as each trial will put their various witchcraft abilities to the test. According to what we've learned from the group, they will face a number of difficult obstacles along the way that will put their skills to the test. Jen questions Teen about his identity as the coven talks about their intentions, and that's when we find out that Teen's identity has been concealed from more than just Agatha. All the witches are unable to hear his name. At that point, Lelia discloses that Teen has a sigil applied on her, which is essentially a redaction magic that conceals something. In this instance, it appears that the emblem was created to shield Teen against witches. Teen naturally wonders why he would be the target of a sigil, and Agatha replies that she has no idea who may have done it. Mrs. Hart slips off by herself as the party is debating the symbol, and it is when she sits down on the ground next to the road that she almost falls into the earth, with Alice just about saving her. It appears that the first rule of walking the Witch's Road is to never get off it. Jen spots a blazing light on the road that goes off to a beach property in the distance. The coven travels up the road to the home, which has a beautifully crafted entrance with the moon's phases depicted on it, signifying the cycle's water stage. The crew changes into new clothing that match their surroundings, a Hamptons Beach home, as soon as they enter the house. After entering, the gang soon discovers there isn't a clear way out. Teen then discovers a letter with the puzzle, "My age has value, I'm no fun alone," on the mantle of the fireplace. "I play mind games, my techniques are well known." When Mrs. Hart spots a bottle of wine on the bar and eagerly opens it to have a drink, they stop wondering if the riddle is about a witch. The coven believes they must all drink wine after realizing it is the solution to the puzzle. Jen takes Teen aside as the party is ready to sip the wine, urging him to look out for Agatha after she surrendered her own kid for the Book of the Damned. Jen claims that nobody knows what happened to him. Some speculate that he may be a demon, while others think he could be a Mephisto agent. Yes, this is the first time that Mephisto has been mentioned in public. A meter that counts down from 30 minutes starts to clock down as soon as the group starts drinking wine, giving him a sense of urgency to find out what the experiment would involve beyond just sipping wine. The majority of the coven drinks the wine, with the exception of Teen, who does not consume it while underage. Agatha discreetly throws her wine into a plant, only for it to magically resurface in her glass. Teen sees Alice's tattoo, which she claims her mother forced her to have because it wards off curses, as she is sipping her wine, and Alice explains to Teen how her family is cursed. The fact that Alice informs Teen that she received the tattoo when she was just 13 gives us an indication as to who Teen is, and Teen also admits that a lot occurred to him when he was 13. Before we get any details, though, their talk is cut off as Mrs. Hart's face starts to swell and they discover they've all been poisoned. Everyone's faces start to swell and then quickly return to normal as the trial appears to be focused on finding a remedy for the poison before the timer goes off. Jen starts trying to determine what kind of wine would have been used as a dosage.
So quickly means it could be only one type of death.
That's ridiculous. We don't.
On the upholstery? Wanda,
The hallucinations seem chill.
Well, because I don't know what the hell you're talking about. Really big cauldron. Okay. Okay. Skincare made it to the road. What did...
Essential oils. still feel it when it happened. You okay? Social insect?
What is that?
Salt water.
Are we on?
No, and look, bam, done, so nice.
Next is frankincense.
No, wait.
What? What's wrong?
Cooking tool. It heats water to a
To the left.
Right.
Jen then understands that they were poisoned with a poison that acts quickly and will kill them if the right counteragent is not found. Agatha attempts to escape out of the house by shattering the window. This is the moment they know she didn't drink the wine. The wine starts to materialize in another glass as she snatches the glass and tosses it on the ground. Agatha's nearly maternal instincts take over when Teen starts to drink the wine and tells her that if she won't, he will, and she downs the alcohol to protect Teen. Before Mrs. Hart passes out on the sofa, calling Wanda's name, the group rapidly learns that hallucinations are the next sign of the poison. Jen starts assembling the components for the antidote as the last 15 minutes are running out, and the rest of the gang scrambles to get started. Jen returns to the kitchen with her supplies so that she may start working on the potion after Alice, Lelia, and Jen each battle the spirits of previous lives in their own hallucinations. Jen notes that the home appears to be submerged now and that water is rapidly beginning to rush in through the gap Agatha made in the glass, as if the strain of being in a race against time weren't enough. Agatha's delayed hallucination begins when Teen stirs the potion and she hears a baby wailing. She walks to the bassinet where the sounds are coming from, but as she pulls back the cover there is a dark hold under instead of a baby. It's obvious that the season will involve delving into Agatha and her son's past, and we can't wait to see where it all ends. But let's go back to the activity. As Jen puts a lot of effort into making the potion, she soon discovers that something is lacking. Agatha offers Jen a kind of pep talk as she starts to spiral about how worthless she is without her powers. She tells Jen that even if she has always disliked her, she should be left alone since what she does matters because they can remove her power but not her knowledge. Jen suddenly understands that they require the blood of the unpoisoned, or the teen who refrained from consuming the alcohol. They cut Teen's hand open and let his blood seep into the concoction, which works just in time. All of the group consumes the antidote, but they soon discover that Mrs. Hart hasn't consumed any alcohol because she is still unconscious on the couch, and the timer is still running. The countdown finishes just as they appear to have given her the antidote in time, and the oven door suddenly swings open to expose a passageway leading back to the Witch's Road. They all make their way through the oven, which sends them down a slide back to the Witch's Road, after Lelia makes a joke about not going inside because she once had a friend who was shoved inside. Water then starts to flow into the home. They appear to have completed their first attempt successfully, but their joy is short-lived as they learn Mrs. Hart is dead and not breathing. The first casualty of the Witch's Road has been identified, highlighting the perilous nature of the trek and raising the possibility that not everyone may survive. Even if the episode's opening hint that Mrs. Hart wasn't intended to travel the Witch's Road suggested she wouldn't make it, we still weren't prepared to say goodbye to her character so early in the season. Even yet, we're glad the authors took this bold step since it shows how dangerous the Witch's Road is and how nobody is safe there.
And also, a famous goddess of rock.
Family were cursed.
In episode 4 titled, If I Can't Reach You Let My Song Teach You, takes us on a rhythmic ride through the haunted halls of the Witch's Road.
Hotel fire.
They'll catch up when they can. Vomitos!
We still have the
Coven 2 and Glory shall...
Alice.
Okay.
This episode, a masterclass in the macabre mixed with a rock anthem, sees our coven of characters not just surviving but thriving amidst the chaos. The episode picks up the pieces after the harrowing events of the previous trial, with the coven reeling from the loss of Sharon Davis. The mood is somber, the path forward uncertain. But as the saying goes, the show must go on, and so does the journey down the Witch's Road.
Witch. This is cool.
Me already.
Out the road.
Clearly.
The group, still reeling from their near-death experience, must find a way to move forward, and that means finding a new green witch to replace Sharon. Enter Aubrey Plaza's Rio Vidal, stage left and rising from the grave with an air of nonchalant danger that only she can pull off. Her return is as sudden as it is theatrical, adorned in mud and green, with a smirk that challenges the status quo. Plaza's portrayal of Rio is a standout, a blend of menace and magnetism that keeps the audience, and Agatha, on their toes. The dynamic between Agatha and Rio is palpable, a centuries-old dance of power and passion.
I know it! What does he mean?
Maybe this curse.
Vengeance is loosed, you can't reel it back in.
I thought it was... Oh my god.
Their history is hinted at through subtle glances and loaded dialogue, a tension that simmers just beneath the surface. When Rio whispers, "Boo," into Agatha's ear, it's a moment that echoes through time, a reminder of their intertwined fates. As the coven moves forward, they are drawn to a house on the road, a place that sings with the spirit of Alice's mother, Lorna Wu. The house, a time capsule of the 70s, is a gateway to Alice's past and the source of the next trial. The walls are lined with Fleetwood Mac posters, and the air is thick with the scent of patchouli and possibility. It's here that the coven learns of Lorna's curse and the power of her song, The Ballad of the Witch's Road. The episode takes a turn for the musical, with the coven forming a band to break the curse. Alice takes her place at the piano, Jen picks up a bass, Teen strums a guitar, Lelia dons zills, and Rio, of course, is behind the drum kit.
Our family's old-ass curse?
Not a lot of blessings with this
plan, Agatha.
The scene is a visual feast, with the coven decked out in 70s rocker finery, complete with bell-bottoms and band tees. As they play, the curse manifests around Alice, a demon-like figure with wings of leather and fire. But under Agatha's bandleader guidance, they pour their hearts into the music, and the curse begins to break. The song, a protection spell written by Lorna, becomes their salvation, a harmonious haunting that echoes through the studio and beyond. The episode is not without its casualties, however. Teen is badly injured by a shard of flying glass, and the coven must once again come together to save him. As they do, Rio observes Agatha's concern, a look that speaks volumes about the depth of her feelings for the young witch.
He's young.
Water? Wool noose? Abakwa?
An 11th generation root worker? I still don't know.
Not believing everything, because
Now you know. That we've...
When Teen awakens, he poses questions that cut to the heart of Agatha's story. Was she the one who put the sigil on him? And what really happened to her son, Nicholas Scratch? Agatha's answers are as enigmatic as they are revealing, a testament to the layers of mystery that surround her character. As the episode draws to a close, the coven shares war stories, each scar a badge of their witchy past. Jen speaks of a trap, a binding without magic, and Agatha drops another tantalizing breadcrumb about her past. But it's Rio who steals the show, her speech about Agatha leaving a scar that is as much a part of her as the witch herself. Agatha All Along continues to weave a tapestry of magic, music, and mayhem, with episode 4 delivering a rockin' good time. The coven's journey down the witch's road is far from over, and with each step, the stakes get higher and the magic more mesmerizing. As they say, the devil's in the details, and Agatha All Along has them in spades.
Agatha Harkness. You have...
Child.
This is my pet. Say hi.
In Agatha All Along Season 1 Episode 5, Agatha must face her dark past which costs one of the witches their lives.
Children.
Yeah, and then they became a...
Oh, jeez! Rooms are great!
Female domesticity.
And...
It's about selflessness, Teen. All right, come on.
It seems our solid coven is falling apart, leading to one big, although predictable reveal. Let's not waste another second and talk about it. The episode begins with a quick reminder of how and why Agatha is so hated. Although this was covered in WandaVision, it seems Agatha was feared and hated by her witch coven, which included her own mother. As the witches attempt to punish Agatha, she absorbs all of their power, thus killing them in the process. Already the episode is hinting that Agatha probably has no control over why and how she's able to do this, while also revealing that she revels in it. Flashing forward to the present, the Salem Seven have followed Agatha and her coven to the Witch's Road.
I didn't do it!
Living my tiny life in the bringing on my own early days.
Okay. Mother Crone.
D. E. G.
How? Well, because the unnamed teen, who might as well be a walking witch encyclopedia at this point, revealed the obvious, that they never closed the opening when they summoned the Green Witch, aka Rio. At this point, I'm getting frustrated as to how this unnamed teen knows literally everything, and these witches who have been around for years, if not centuries, know absolutely nothing. It is quickly explained that the Salem Seven are the children of the witches Agatha killed the day she absorbed their powers. The group attempts to flee, via tree branches to fly above the road, but the road brings them back. They rush to their next trial, taking place in the 1980s, where lo and behold, this is Agatha's trial. This time the trial will be communing with an Ouija board that the teen has to explain the rules of, which again, the witches do not seem to already know, and yet I do, even though I never have nor never will touch one. At first the group believes they are contacting Mrs. Hart, who appears to possess Agatha.
Trial.
Oh, yes.
Humiliation would work.
Light. She's for real this time.
But it was all an act, even though one of the rules clearly stated not to make fun nor taunt the spirits. Great job, team. But then the group receives a very clear message from Death to punish Agatha. The group suddenly wants to turn on her, assumably to kill her. But suddenly she is terrifyingly possessed by her dead mother, who, like everyone with actual common sense in this show, is confused and angry as to why anyone would want to help Agatha.
Nicholas Scratch! Alice, please. Please wake up. Alice. Alice.
Killing people to serve your...
Things get worse when Alice tries to save Agatha from getting possessed a second time by using her powers, which Agatha absorbs. While this is happening, the Ouija board starts moving on its own. The teen communes with Nicholas Scratch, the name of Agatha's son. As we learned, Agatha has deep regrets about her son, even though the show has yet to explain what happened or who the father even is.
Motion ties them to this plane.
Punish Agatha.
This is enough to snap Agatha out of her power absorption, but it's too late. Unfortunately, the most likable witch in the group is the first to die, a moment that angers the teen to no end. The trial is over, and the group flees, except Rio, whom we do not see at the end of the episode. Back on the road, the teen is angry at Agatha for killing Alice, even though she claimed she had no control over what she did. But yet seconds later she revels in her new power and tells the teen that he is acting just like his mother. Without saying a word, the teen shoves Agatha off the road, causing her to sink and disappear into the ground. He then proceeds to do the same to Jenny and Lelia, leaving only him on the road wearing a headpiece that looks awfully similar to the Scarlet Witch. Agatha All Along's 6th episode opens with a peek at Wiccan's upbringing.
Fixo.
Sigil is a redaction spell that
What happened to me at 13 too? Eloheinu melech Adonai.
Here, he goes by William, and he is attending his bat mitzvah. He encounters Lelia, a fortune teller, while having a good time. After reading his palm, she says that he has a huge trip ahead of him and that his life has been divided into 2 parts.
It's clear that a long journey. Your lifeline is broken in 2. Important life changes.
She spirals when Lelia tells him about the tower inverted and exhorts him to enjoy the now. She places a stone in his jacket after marking it with what appears to be a curse as he departs. Suddenly, everyone is compelled to return home because of the situation in Westview, and panic breaks out.
Quickly.
Hey, we'll be home soon.
baby! Call 911! No!
Tommy!
Breathing? Yes, he is now. Okay.
Thank God.
They go to the appropriately named Eastview, where Wiccan's parents, not paying attention, cause the automobile to crash. After being knocked unconscious, Billy abruptly wakes up and calls for his brother Tommy. Still clutching this odd wooden symbol, he is brought to the hospital. He begins to hear things, even his parents' thoughts. However, Wiccan's situation has changed. When he gets home, he hardly knows his surroundings or himself. When it all gets to be too much, Wiccan keeps hearing his parents' anxieties. 3 years later, Billy and his lover are going through an emo phase.
I am William Kaplan.
Oh, sort of puzzle.
Sorry, I just thing.
He is thinking of expressing, "I love you," but Billy listens to his boyfriend's ideas first. Additionally, Billy is carrying the symbol in his hand. He thinks that after the crash, he has changed, as though he is in a different body and has resurrected, but everything is incorrect. He chooses to investigate the matter more because he doesn't believe he is this William guy. When Wiccan sees runes in the crimson sky in Westview's YouTube video, he knows it's witchcraft. They go to question Billy after he discovered a Reddit user who used to reside in Westview. He notes that he recalls everything, but he is wary. He talks about Wanda's comedic persona and how she dominated the community. Ralph, who acknowledges that he wakes up screaming every hour at night as a result of the experience, is obviously emotionally disturbed.
It was not a good time.
What do you know about Agatha Harkness?
I just want to talk. Fine, fine. Agatha. Hijack. She stole my house. I was a terrible influence on my twins.
Or they're...
They just disappeared. Agatha can keep my Bowflex.
He also talks about Agatha and how his bargain was far worse than everyone else's in town. Agatha took control of his life and made him marry her. He feels he had a negative impact on Wanda and Vision's children and held a woman captive in his attic. Billy and Tommy, the pretend children. Although Ralph mentions that Agatha is also under a spell at Westview, he doesn't go into detail about the degree of Wanda's abhorrent torment of the entire community. Billy understands his part in all of this even if Ralph cautions him not to go digging about.
Dizzia.
Stop!
Glad I can have this opportunity to... That's not what I was expecting, but actually I came here with a somewhat unorthodox plan to... Ow!
No, you do not.
No. The Witch's Road.
What?
That couldn't be farther from the truth.
If you didn't think this was obvious enough, Billy does some research on Agatha and the road, writes down what we just heard, and plays the Witch's Road song on the radio. We connect to the start of Agatha All Along when Billy appears at Westview. After searching Agatha's belongings for a particular item, he discovers her acting like a detective. The first episode is then recapped, this time with Billy referring to himself as Wanda's son in front of her. Billy had shattered this wooden symbol and hugged himself when Agatha emerges from the muck. Like the rest of us, Agatha figured it out 5 episodes ago, and now she nicknames him Billy. If you didn't think this was obvious enough, Billy does some research on Agatha and the road, writes down what we just heard, and plays the Witch's Road song on the radio. We connect to the start of Agatha All Along when Billy appears at Westview. After searching Agatha's belongings for a particular item, he discovers her acting like a detective. The first episode is then recapped, this time with Billy referring to himself as Wanda's son in front of her. Billy had shattered this wooden symbol and hugged himself when Agatha emerges from the muck. Like the rest of us, Agatha figured it out 5 episodes ago, and now she nicknames him Billy. After receiving proof and history that Billy is who we believed him to be, we watch reruns of episode 1 in which Billy tells Agatha his real name.
But now. Huh?
On Agatha All Along, we were previously introduced to teen Joe Locke, who is now known as Billy Maximoff, also known as William Kaplan. With the deaths of Lelia, Patti LuPone and Jennifer Kale, Sasheer Zamata, 2 witches remain. In order to find his brother and restore Agatha's abilities, he and Agatha, Kathryn Hahn, decided to complete the Witch's Road together at the conclusion of the episode. In addition to being out of order, Agatha All Along's 7th episode, Death's Hand in Mine, is also running out of time.
Classic.
Look.
Well, if the cheek. These sphinxes with you, and they represent.
The finest farewell to Lelia that we have seen on this program thus far is provided by the nonlinear structure, which deftly switches between the present and the past, sometimes centuries ago, sometimes only a few seconds ago. Lelia's face is shown in close-up at the beginning of Death's Hand in Mine. She is plummeting, contextless, down a black abyss. In the earlier episodes, Agatha All Along has provided us with just enough hints that the visual is fascinating rather than annoying.
How long has it been? First. Easy road.
It's okay.
I'm not.
I'm talking about the Salem 7.
I know.
Tell me.
Teen tossed Lelia and Jen into the muck at the Witch's Road in episode 5. Perhaps this is how Lelia interpreted the event as she submerged.
Whoa! Ow! I didn't know that I could.
Perhaps it has to do with the visions she's experienced throughout the program, the words she's dropped in talks without a reason, or her inability to recall her odd conduct when questioned about it. She is, after all, the Coven's divination witch, with the ability to see both forward and backward as well as many things in between, so perhaps it is a glimpse of the future. Perhaps it's none of them at once, or it might be all of those things. We cut to another scene as that one fades away. Agatha and Teen are strolling down the road in awkward quiet. Even Agatha finds the situation too uncomfortable. Although she answers the second question in the most useless way conceivable, she declines to address his first, which was, to be fair, one of our most important ones as well. He's clearly not getting a definitive response from her. They follow the road to the location of their next trial. Teen asks Agatha whether she has ever been on the road before they go inside, giving her one last jab. She appears confused, but it's difficult to determine if this is real or a performance, like in episode 2 when Lelia accused her of inciting the other witches to assault her in order to take their power. Agatha and Teen alter their costumes once again within the castle. They must face the trial without their divination witch, and it revolves around tarot cards.
These sphinxes with you, and they represent. Betrayal.
Check.
They make an unsuccessful attempt to read aloud to one another. One of the dozens of swords dangling from the ceiling falls to the ground every time they make a mistake, and eventually the entire roof begins to collapse. Lelia and Jen are having a bewildered chat when the show changes suddenly to a new scene. They are both still alive in spite of what Agatha stated in episode 6. They sort of plummeted through the earth and into an underground tube rather than drowned in the filth. Jen is relaying a discussion we didn't witness and Lelia can't recall. Despite it reportedly happened only seconds earlier, Lelia has no memory of telling Jen that they needed to walk deeper down the tunnel and look for a bookcase. After a brief sequence of memories, some pieces of the puzzle begin to fit together. Abruptly, we find ourselves seeing a situation with an elderly woman and a little girl sitting across from one another at an outside table. When Lelia regains her composure in the tunnel, Jen dismisses it as Lelia's confusion returning. She eventually clarifies what's happening, though, and she is not perplexed. Then, we return to the beginning of this recap, a misinterpreted exchange between Lelia and Jen. This episode is beautiful because it allows us to see the world through Lelia's eyes. Up until now, we have seen her flashbacks from the viewpoints of other people. From the outside, it appears as though she just leaves the discussion for a little time and then returns with a brief lapse in her memory. According to Lelia, she is essentially going back in time. It's frightening and really confusing.
I ignored it.
Things are looking up.
Oh my god.
You mean the subject?
How are we gonna get out of here?
Teen must ask.
Similar to the scenario in the tunnel, we enter it midway through, with Lelia and I in the dark as the other characters recall the events of the previous few minutes. The tarot reading Lelia was doing for Teen was not going well, and she ended herself on the ground when Agatha tackled her to get her out of the line of a falling sword. We move about in time once more, first returning to Sicily and then continuing in the tunnel as we hear Lelia talking about living her life out of order. Jen and she can hear Teen and Agatha nearby. A bookcase surrounds a curve in the tunnel that leads to the castle, where Jen assumes the Queen's ancient hag disguise and Lelia changes into Glinda. The entire scenario that Lelia flashed into earlier is now visible to us. Suddenly, just on time, Lelia breaks through the shelf. Lelia understands the stakes right away because she has previously seen a portion of this scene and begins working on Teen's tarot reading. When it fails, Agatha throws her to the ground. Then, when we return to Sicily, Lelia delivers a brief but impactful monologue in which she describes how her foresight has cost her nothing but suffering for millennia because she was unable to halt the deaths of everyone she loved. The program abruptly returns to the tunnel. Here, we see the scene that Jen described to Lelia in the immediate aftermath of their fall through the ground when she was unable to recall their location. We return to the table as Lelia clears the deck and begins a new reading, her own this time, after she discovers what she did incorrectly during the tarot trial as they make their way down the tunnel. This type of reading, known as a safe passage spread, predicts a quest or travel. Her own identity is reflected in the first card. The Queen of Cups is pulled by her. According to Lelia, empathetic, intuitive, inner voice to be trusted. She then turns over the Three of Pentacles and picks a card that symbolizes what's missing, or the motivation behind her quest. The path behind, her history, is symbolized by the third card. In honor of her tenacity, it's the Knight of Wands this time. According to Lelia, the path ahead, or a space for growth and discovery, is symbolized by the fourth card. The High Priestess, who stands for immense spiritual power, unable or unwilling to use it, is pulled by her. The Three of Swords, a card that symbolizes sadness and grief, is the next card that depicts obstacles. Then the Windfall, Lelia performs a miracle metamorphosis by pulling the tower in reverse. Lelia awakens before Jen in the tunnel, a person is moving toward them in the shadows. Her visage has turned into a skull as she enters the light. Lelia chooses the final card, the one that indicates where she is going, back in the castle. The last fragment of Lelia's recollection comes together. Although the Salem Seven have caught up to them and they must leave the castle before they can deal with the Rio crisis, Agatha affirms that Rio is, in fact, death. Just as Jen turns back to assist her, Lelia closes the door in her face after ushering them all out, through an Iron Maiden this time. She claims, "I loved being a witch." Despite the arrival of the Salem Seven, Lelia still has one more tactic. The tower, standing up. When Lelia flips the card, the entire chamber turns upside down, causing everyone to fly and impaling the Salem Seven on the ceiling with their swords. For a brief time, Lelia is caught between the past, present, and future, as well as between life and death, on the brink of the tarot table. She was going down, is going to fall. She then lets go of the table and eventually starts to fall.
They say no one really knows what happened to him.
About your talent.
It's him, I just can't find him.
In one of the most exquisite scenes Marvel has ever produced, Lelia, Patti LuPone sacrificed herself and fell to her death in the 7th episode of Agatha All Along. In episode 5, Aliane awakens in the cabin with documents strewn all over the place. When she does, she finds her own lifeless, depleted corpse on the ground and Aubrey Plaza telling her it's time to leave. It's confusing. Alice doesn't realize that this is all the time she has left. She broke the curse at last, allowing her to live her life to the fullest. In response, Rio says that Alice is the protection witch since she lost her life defending someone. Rio drags Alice out into a green fog even though she isn't ready to leave. Agatha is experiencing confusion and fear outside, particularly when she encounters Rio, who informs her that her coven is getting smaller.
You will eventually die. Long, long.
It's not loyalty, it's analysis.
Earth and potions, right? Yeah. Then how exactly?
As she promised, the dead are stacking up. Rio believed there would be a trick, so she wasn't sure she would deliver. Because of the whole body stealing event, Agatha was diverting her attention from Billy, Joe Locke, an abomination upsetting the divine equilibrium. Rio observes Agatha as intently as she observes everyone else, so she is aware of how she feels about him. Rio informs Agatha that she has received more special care than anybody else in history. Given that Rio offered her nothing but took, Agatha finds that to be a ridiculous statement. Agatha responds that the truth is too terrible when Rio questions her about why she allows them to think those things about Nikki. Agatha thinks it's a waste of time, but Rio claims what Billy wants from the road is a violation. In any case, Tommy isn't out there yet. Rio can't allow Tommy to be Billy too, therefore she must take Billy. Agatha dejectedly orders her to take him before Rio realizes she can't, since she wants Billy to give himself in, because if he is murdered, he would reincarnate and Rio will lose him. In return for Rio releasing her, Agatha pledges to set it up, but she also wants death to stop chasing her and making her life miserable. Agatha doesn't want to see Rio's face when she passes away, which will be a long time from now. Rio accepts but is obviously offended. She leaves, inserts a knife in the road's wall, and leaves. Even after Lelia chose to sacrifice herself, Jen, Sasheer Zamata, is crying to Billy as she bangs on the door to the tarot trial. Jen informs Billy that the green craft transcends the development and decay cycle of all living things. It makes sense as Agatha's X is death by official definition. Jen is perplexed when Billy claims that the fact that she and Rio met over bodies proves Agatha's emotions. He is not loyal to her. Before yelling that it's time to finish the road, Agatha overhears Billy that he knows she can never be anything other than a covenless witch. Unfortunately, there isn't a green witch in the last trial, which takes place on Earth, although Agatha claims that there is some crossover with potions. She makes fun of Jennifer, saying she's shocked she's still alive after betting on Lelia. The road is a circle, so they are back at the beginning when Agatha, being a bothersome nuisance, trips over their shoes. When Billy attempts to assist, Agatha yells at him in the scariest voice to be silent if he is unsure of what to do. Billy puts his shoes back on when Agatha says they must continue. In observance of the road, they remove them. Agatha, Jen, and Billy wake up at a morgue in a corpse bag. Jen observes that there are grow lights on the ceiling, and Agatha recognizes that they are in her basement. Each of them has their personal belongings returned, such as Billy's spellbook, which he is unable to read, and Agatha's brooch. The countdown begins when the grow lights go out. Jen considers how she may help Agatha and Billy, and after hearing Billy's motivational speech, she realizes that she may be the reason she hasn't been able to use her magic. Jen discovers that Agatha is the one who chained her for 100 years, but Agatha says she didn't aware she had ever been through there. To Agatha's credit, she was unaware that it was her. Jen's strength returns when she performs an emotional unbinding ceremony. Then, because the road provided her with what she was lacking, she vanishes.
Keep them. Keep your eyes. He looks down.
Underwater! There's a boy! It's a press! The people...
Out of death.
Agatha warns Billy that if he gets her excited, this can end right here and now. Agatha encourages him to sit down so they can locate his brother, but he doesn't trust her because he thinks she would take away all of his authority. Rio is furious that Billy can give Tommy a new life even if he isn't waiting out there with a body. Billy is told to close his eyes and share with her his final memories of Tommy. In a heartwarming passage, he describes the final seconds of the hex as Agatha guides him through it, telling him to remain composed and breathe through everything with Tommy. Billy transplants Tommy's spirit into the body of a drowning child, but his family is evil. Before Billy can hear her answer no, he vanishes. Billy asks Agatha if he's killing a boy so Tommy may live. Alone, Agatha laments that males do die occasionally. She softly runs the strand of Nick's hair from her brooch across her face. She successfully completes the attempt by putting the tiny dandelion seed behind the hair on a piece of soil beneath the fractured earth. Agatha sobs as a dandelion emerges from the ground and cries that she needs more time as the last of the lights go out. Agatha escapes the storm shelter in Westview just in time as the ceiling begins to collapse after lighting up again. Rio congratulates Agatha for surviving the last challenge, but she still lacks her abilities, and she laughs and shouts from her position atop the house. Rio wants her reward just as much as Agatha does. Rio is accompanying Agatha, who is contemplating death by 1,000 cuts, because he hasn't given up. Agatha gets cut all over when the panes shatter. When the residents of Westview watch this, they become incredibly tired of these uncalled for activities. Their tumultuous split has become a headache for everyone. Rio claims she's a coward, that Agatha loves her, and that she's merely following the flow of things when Agatha tries to kick her out. Agatha hits the deck after heeding Lilia's admonition from the last episode, just escaping the falling debris that Rio throws at her. As Agatha attempts to flee, Rio keeps beating the living daylights out of her from the roof and questions her about why she doesn't want her. When Rio finally climbs down from the roof, Billy, dressed as a Wiccan, suddenly pushes her away before she can approach Agatha. He promises her some of his supernatural, but warns her not to grab it all. Agatha takes it all in, laughs, feels liberated and joyful, and gets the famous glow up, but she stops before Billy loses all of his strength. Rio offers Agatha and Billy a choice. One of them remains with her, while the other is allowed to go. Agatha refuses to have it happen and chooses to fight Rio in the backyard. Billy reappears to assist after being thrown into the shed. Agatha informs him that because they are powerless to combat death, this is pointless. Billy doesn't want her to sacrifice herself, but she is. Billy assures her that she is not awful, and Agatha assures him that he is. When Billy says he'll accompany Rio, Agatha ostensibly betrays him by agreeing to let Billy leave without a struggle. She is a witch without a coven. Billy asks Agatha in her mind whether this is how Nick passed away. Agatha then walks up to Rio and gives her a kiss. As black smoke swirls around them, Agatha rises into the air and then falls back to the earth with a serene expression on her face. Rio cries a little as she sees her body, the life taken from her. With just her brooch remaining, Agatha slips into the earth while lovely flowers blossom on top of her. Rio transforms into her death mask and tells Billy he may go if he picks it up. Westview residents welcome Billy as he leaves. He raises his hood, just like Wanda did. After he leaves and returns home, his parents start asking him a lot of questions about his whereabouts and worrying over him. Billy enters his room and surveys his whole collection of decorations, including his episode 5 pennants, Wicked Witch statue, and Lorna Wu poster. When he gets things together, he discovers it was Billy all along. He is credited for creating the Witcher's Road. After a cackle, the program goes dark. Agatha All Along's last episode concluded the Witcher's Road's many miles of deception and hardship, but it left viewers wondering about the truth of what transpired and who ended up where. It was implied in episode 8, Follow Me My Friend, to glory at the end, that Billy was just thinking about the route. This idea is further developed in the show's last episode, Maiden Mother Crone, which also covers Agatha's past, that of her son Nicholas Scratch, and what Rio did to make Agatha despise her.
Please let... I smoke, no smoke.
Oh.
Come back here! Give me that! Leave! Return it!
To survive. To survive. Get used to this feeling.
Walk, walk, walk the road we...
The climax begins with ladies singing in the backdrop over a verdant expanse of forest. In a purple robe, a hooded lady darts across the forest. The woman is Agatha, and the year is 1750. It appears that she is both pregnant and in labor. The procedure begins when she bites down on a lemon that has been chopped up against a tree. Rio, dressed in green, is waiting for her at the lake's edge with a flower when she looks up. That can't be. Please, my dear. Rio, wearing a green cloak, responds to Agatha's cries by stating, "This is the way. He will die." However, Rio gives her lover an indefinite period of time to be with her son, who was created from scratch rather than by charms or incantations, like Nicholas, and 6 years later has joined his mother's succubus enterprise. When they spend their days eliminating covens and seizing control, Nikki, Abel Lysenko, wonders why. Agatha, however, attributes it to witchcraft's Darwinism. She can manipulate weak minds and conjure illusions with her purple. But all they can do is live till death comes back for him. Despite their love, Rio had to take Nicholas because of her executive position in the Department of Death Dealing, leaving Agatha permanently damaged.
I like it.
We
Wander? Down the winding road.
down.
Come, let's just...
From the past forever.
Agatha employs Nikki to trick gullible witches into falling into her trap on the 18th century take your kid to work day. She seizes their authority, and they continue to live together while singing the song. My blood, my tears, my bone, maiden mother crone, we continue, always forever by your side. Rio's permit, however, expires after 6 years. As they cross the bridge to the hereafter, Nicholas holds Death's hand as she emerges in the darkness, illuminated by a green torch flame. Agatha genuinely loves her kid. It may be all we know about her that is really true. But once he leaves, she seizes the chance, and The Witch's Road plays a key role in the coven building scam she plans over time. Agatha repeats the phony coven ploy from her Westview basement across the 18th and 19th centuries, starting with the Roaring Twenties and continuing through the Me-decade. Witches congregate and finally use their abilities against her, but Agatha takes it all in with all the humor a multi-wigged Kathryn Hahn can conjure. Until we return to the present, where the song to open the Witch's Road portal is sung by Lelia, Jen, Alice, and even Sharon Davis. After years, decades, and even millennia of attempting this, it's little wonder Agatha was astounded when Billy Maximoff's power finally made it work. This supports what we discovered at the conclusion of Agatha Episode 8, when Billy came to the realization that he, as a tarot magician, was the one who built the Witch's Road.
Of course, I will
Road down the Witch's Road.
We are brought back to that point in Episode 9, when Billy turns around in his bedroom and finds Agatha Harkness in her most recent guise has ghosted him. She was really buried and dead. Billy may acknowledge that since he needed the outlet, he effectively summoned the road into being. However, he finds it more difficult to comprehend how his desire contributed to the deaths of Lelia Calderu, Alice Wu Gulliver, and Mrs. Davis, at least indirectly.
You actually did something.
Made the road. Like if I literally... Agatha, why did... Jen.
I was gonna...
He complains to Ghost Agatha, who is understandably uncaring, my mind killed them. In a technical sense, she murdered Alice. Lelia also decided to remain. Billy, however, determines that enough is enough. He grabs his spellbook and is ready to exile her. He intones, Valia Lucem, Relinc Terram, Nalisa Phantasmo, which means, value the light, leave the land, and meet the ghost. He doesn't want Agatha to have any more opportunities after her centuries of destruction. Go toward the light, into Rio's poisonous embrace, or no matter where you ought to spend eternally. Now is the time. I no longer give a damn. While you at it, this is reminiscent to the moment Agatha Harkness's body was recovered by the ground in her garden in Westview. However, the simple fact that Hahn is equally likable and dislikable when she plays Ghost Agatha indicates that such a ghost should most likely remain with us. Agatha and Billy may work well together because of Billy's abilities and his perception of loss. In a manner, he kills covens too, just like her. Together, they may go out to discover what they both still desire, which would likely be another encounter with those witchy ladies Agatha and Rio, as well as the real-life appearance of his twin Tommy Maximoff. A door opens, another closes. In Agatha's Westview basement, Billy plugs the portal and places a memorial to Alice, Sharon, and Lelia on top of it. When we see Jennifer Kale, she emerges from the ground near the Westview boundary, creeps out, and uses her newly unfettered abilities to take off. And with a sense of renewed resolve and even cooperation, Billy and Agatha make their way toward the light of another, recently opened doorway. Let's go look for Tommy. The two may now finally let it all out without any more secrets or tricks left for them. Billy acknowledges immense feelings of remorse as he realizes that he is ultimately responsible for the murders of Sharon, Alice, and Lelia by building the Witch's Road for real, and Agatha says that she will never move on since she cannot bear to face her son in the hereafter. She points out that Billy did save Jennifer, who we watch flee and soar away with her abilities completely restored, even though her logic may be a little warped. Agatha admits that she was preparing to kill her new coven in her basement. We have built up Billy Maximoff's future in a typical Marvel way. However, her narrative has happily not yet come to an end since Agatha consents to serve as his ghostly guide. We eventually reach the conclusion of a series that has proven to be among the most reliable in the MCU to date, when Billy permanently closes up the road and leaves a memorial for the Coven members who perished. The MCU received the TV hit it needed.